You just hit send out an email to the executive team, right? And within maybe 3 seconds, your stomach just completely drops.
Oh, that is the worst feeling.
It really is. You read it back, and suddenly you realize you sound less like a confident project lead and more like, I don't know, a panicked intern who somehow wandered into the boardroom.
Right, because your ideas are completely solid, but the vocabulary you use to express them, well, it belongs on a playground, not in a corporate strategy meeting.
Exactly. And that sinking feeling is exactly why we are doing this deep dive today. We are looking at a fantastic framework about upgrading basic English into polished, professional business English.
And we're not just gonna, toss around a boring list of vocabulary words.
No, definitely not. To fulfill our mission today, we are extracting these crucial business replacement phrases and putting them straight into action. We are actually going to design several role-play practice scenarios throughout our conversation to test these phrases out.
Which is so helpful because we have to analyze why these simple upgrades work. Why does swapping a single word change the entire psychological dynamic in an office?
Right, and a quick note for you, the listener, as we dive in. For these role-play segments, I am going to intentionally slow down the pace.
Yeah, that's
I'm
important.
going to speak very clearly at a pace that's perfect for beginners, offering some really easy-to-remember tips
Yeah.
to lock these phrases into your daily spoken habits.
I love that because knowledge is really only valuable when you can apply it mechanically, in the moment.
Totally. So let's start with the everyday action upgrades, moving from basic to tailored. This is for the most common positive interactions in the office, offering and receiving assistance.
Right, the stuff we do every single day.
Exactly. And the source material points out that our default word is almost always, well, help. We say things like, thanks for your help, or I am happy to help.
It's functional. I mean, it gets the point across.
It does. But what is the psychological tax of relying on the word help? The framework suggests upgrading help to assist or assistance.
Right.
So, thanks for your help becomes thank you for your assistance.
Yeah, because the word help implies a bit of a rescue operation. When you say, I need your help, there is a subtle implication of a power
It's like
imbalance.
one person is struggling and the other is swooping in to save them.
Exactly. And in a high-level business setting, you don't necessarily want to frame your daily collaborative tasks as rescues. Assistance implies that two competent individuals are working together toward a mutual goal.
I see how that changes the dynamic. If we use like a wardrobe analogy saying,
Mm.
thanks for your help is like wearing a plain clean t-shirt to the office.
Right.
It covers you up. It is totally appropriate in casual environment, but it does not command respect. Swapping help for assist is like putting a tailored blazer over that t-shirt.
Oh, that's a great way to look at it. Instant professional polish. It's particularly crucial when dealing with external clients.
Which brings up the second half of that phrase, the word happy. The framework suggests dropping happy in favor of delighted or pleased.
So instead of I am happy to help, you say,
I would be pleased to assist you,
So-
or I am delighted to assist. But let me push back on this a bit, actually.
oh, for it.
If I walk up to my colleague Dave at the water cooler and say, Dave, I am delighted to assist you with that spreadsheet, Dave is going to look at me like I am a 19th century butler.
He absolutely is, and he'd be right to.
Right. It feels incredibly stiff.
Well, this is where context is key. The source explicitly notes that pleased to assist is your tailored blazer. You wear it for the VIP client or the board of directors. But for close colleagues, the framework recommends a casual alternative.
Like what?
Something like, give me a hand, as in, can you give me a hand with these boxes? It maintains the collaborative spirit, but removes that rigid formality.
Okay, that makes sense. So let's test out the formal version. Let's do our first role play scenario.
Okay, let's do it.
You play a VIP client. And remember, listener, I am going to do this nice and slow, very clearly, so you can hear how the words link together.
Ready. Oh, hello. I'm here for the big meeting.
I am delighted to welcome you. How can I assist you today?
Wow. Yeah, combining those upgrades really creates a top-tier customer service response.
It feels completely different coming out of my mouth. But okay, we know how to offer support. What happens when things go wrong?
The hard part.
Yes, navigating friction. How do we deliver bad news or admit fault without losing our authority?
This is where defensive language usually trips us up.
The source gives us a specific pivot here involving the word but, as in, I really like your idea, but we don't have the budget. The suggested upgrade is to replace but with however.
Yes.
Now, on a purely literal level, isn't however just a fancy way of saying but does it really matter?
It matters a lot, actually. It has to do with how the brain processes bad news. The word but is an emergency brake.
An emergency brake.
Yeah. When you say, I love your proposal, but you violently stop the momentum, psychologically, the listener instantly discards everything you said before it.
Oh, because they know the real negative truth is about to follow. Their guard goes up immediately.
Exactly. However, on the other hand, functions like a highway off-ramp.
Okay, I like that image.
You are still moving, but you are smoothly steering the listener into a new direction. It politely signals that a change or bad news is coming.
So it's an easy-to-remember tip. You use, however, to soften a financial or creative rejection. Like, I like your idea, however, it is a bit over budget.
Exactly. It preserves the relationship.
But what about when we are entirely at fault? The framework highlights a massive shift in how we handle being late.
Oh, this one is genius.
Instead of saying, sorry for being late, the upgrade is, thank you for your patience.
It completely transforms the interaction.
It really does. Because when you rush in and say, I am so sorry I'm late, you are basically begging the room to focus on your failure.
Right. You are centering the negative. But when you say, thank you for your patience, you flip the script. You turn a negative about your lateness into a positive about their kindness for waiting.
It's an ego validation trigger. You trap them in a compliment. And the framework applies a similar logic to admitting a factual error.
Instead of saying sorry for the mistake.
Yes. Instead of sorry for the mistake or my bad, the upgrade is I apologize for the oversight. What is the psychology behind oversight?
Well, the word mistake is heavy. It carries an implication of a fundamental failure, like you did something actively wrong because you just didn't know any better.
But an oversight.
An oversight professionally frames the error as a small issue of simply not noticing something. It implies your overall capability is totally intact, you just missed a tiny detail.
That is linguistic armor right there. Let's practice this. Role play scenario number 2.
Okay, what's the setup?
There was a budget mistake that caused a delay, and you are my boss. I am going to deliver the bad news nice and slow for the listener.
Where is that budget report? It's late.
I apologize for the oversight. However, I will correct it immediately. Thank you for your patience.
Boom. That is just so effective. You took accountability, but you didn't sound weak.
I felt very in control of the situation, which perfectly sets up our final segment. We handled mistakes, but how do we establish ourselves as leaders in the room?
Right, taking charge. Moving from defensive phrasing to proactive, authoritative language.
The source attack's a habit we all have. Padding our ideas. We start sentences with, I think, like, I think we should do this.
Yeah, everyone does that.
The suggested upgrade is to replace I think with, in my opinion, from my perspective, or I believe that. Why is I think so problematic?
Because I think makes you sound unsure or like you honestly don't care that much. It's a linguistic hedge to protect ourselves if the idea gets shot down.
Like, hey, I only thought it. I didn't say it was a fact.
Exactly. But using phrases like, from my perspective, transforms mere guess into an expert view, you are claiming territory.
And we can pair that with another upgrade. Instead of saying something is important, use critical, essential, or priority.
It sounds so much more definitive.
But here's a question. What happens when you are put on the spot? The CEO asks a question, and you just don't know the answer.
Oh, the dreaded moment.
The default is, I don't know, or let's talk later. But the upgrade here is, I don't have that information right now, but let me find out for you. Or, I will look into it and get back to you.
Yes.
But wait, what do you look into it and get back to you actually mean in practical terms?
Mhm.
It sounds a little like corporate speak.
It's very practical, actually. Look into it simply means you are going to investigate. You are taking responsibility for finding the answer. And get back to you means you are committing to reply later with that specific answer.
Okay, so it shows you are proactive.
Exactly. Saying, I don't know, makes you look silly in front of clients. But saying, I will look into it, buys you time to find the answer while still looking completely capable.
And instead of let's talk later, the upgrade is touch base or quick catch-up.
Right, because it implies a highly efficient exchange.
Let's put it all together in our final role play. Scenario 3, high-stakes meeting. You ask me for data I don't have. And listener, again, I am slowing the pace down so you can catch every single upgrade.
Sounds good. Hey, do we have the final numbers for that new marketing campaign?
This project is a priority. I don't have that information right now, but I will look into it and get back to you by this afternoon. Let's touch base tomorrow.
See? You didn't know the answer, but you still sounded like the smartest person in the room.
It really works. We have covered a massive amount of ground today. swapping help for assist, using the however off-ramp, thanking people for their patience, and taking charge with phrases like, from my perspective.
These simple word swaps completely change the professional vibe.
But I do want to reiterate a golden piece of advice from the source text. Do not try to use all of these on the same day.
Please don't. You will sound like a robot.
Yes. The best strategy is to pick just one or two phrases and practice them in your emails or meetings this week. Build the muscle memory slowly.
Absolutely. Incremental progress. And actually, before we go, I want to leave the listener with a final thought to mull over.
I love these. Let's hear it.
Think about the underlying psychology of the phrase, thank you for your patience. We talked about how changing the focus from your own flaw to the other person's virtue can completely diffuse a tense situation in the office.
Right, the ego validation.
Exactly. So how might applying this same linguistic trick change your personal relationships or even arguments at home?
Oh, wow.
If you're running late to meet a friend, instead of over-apologizing and centering your own guilt, what happens if you just validate their patience and understanding? Could this business trick actually improve your personal life?
That is a fascinating collision of worlds right there. Taking boardroom armor into your living room.
It's worth exploring.
Definitely. Well, learner, thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. We highly encourage you to keep practicing these phrases. Grab that tailored blazer, try out a new phrase this week, and we will catch you next time.